I welcome you, dear viewers. Today, the Star Guest program talks about martial arts, about those types of sports combat, where one-on-one with his rival, which develop not only strength and will, but mainly intelligence. Believe me, today you will meet with our guest and understand what am I telling you about. And so, today in our studio YURII Kostrov, Grandmaster of the 10th Dan, who is the founder of many types of martial arts in our country, and he represents Ukrainian martial arts all over the world. We will talk about all this. Mr. YURII, we welcome you to our studio and listen to you. At some point, about 15 years ago, I felt that a decline in martial arts was beginning in the countries of the former USSR. This recession was caused by the fact that no attention was paid to their development, and this continues to this day. If funds are allocated for the development of martial arts in European countries and philanthropists are involved, then it is difficult to do this on our territory. Despite the fact that our youth has a huge interest in martial arts. However, any interest should be fueled by something. That is, money, as a means for the development of martial arts, should be. Without this, development is impossible. Many so-called masters, in quotation marks, found different methods of raising funds and joined various criminal groups, the mafia. However, this is not at all the way that real martial arts preach. Of course, our country in the 90s went a very hard way and some people fell into bandit groups, but this historical period has already ended. Now everything is becoming more civilized. However, I want to say that if Olympic martial arts, such as judo, freestyle wrestling and others have state financial support, then non-Olympic types of wrestling, such as, for example, Sambo, do not have any support, although they bring a lot of victories for our country and medals in the international arena. And the Ukrainian national types of martial arts are generally forgotten by our state, and each of them makes its way on its own. It happens that this type of martial arts finds a rich philanthropist. But this is very rare, and only if this philanthropist himself is a student of such a federation and trains in it. I think that the history of any state was also created through the self-improvement of people in martial arts, including. After all, this is a very deep philosophy, and the history of martial arts can study the history of mankind. It really is. The philosophy and history of martial arts began to emerge at the moment when a person first picked up a stick and used it as a weapon. Today there are countries in which martial art is part of their national culture. In other countries, such as Ukraine, this is lost. In the Middle Ages, at the peak of the development of the Cossacks and the struggle for the independence of Ukraine, there was a culture of martial arts, but gradually, especially with the proliferation and dominance of firearms, this culture began to disappear. This happened throughout Europe and is connected with the mentality of the people who lived here. In the Eastern countries, everything happened differently. I can give an example of Japan. In Japan, there are only karate, more than 300 styles. All these federations have serious government subsidies, as they are part of the culture of Japan. The same thing happens in China, Vietnam and other countries of the East. However, you, having a very great authority in the world of martial arts, nevertheless represent Ukrainian martial arts, for example, your Agni Kempo. Now we will see the performance of your team in South Korea. Here you see the speeches of Grandmaster YURII Kostrov and his students in front of South Korean spectators. Yes, it was at this martial arts festival that our team received a gold medal. And 50 teams from 50 countries of the world took part in the festival itself. And South Korea put up 15 national teams. In these videos you see our demonstration of what Agni Kempo consists of. That is the style that I created in Ukraine. Agni Kempo is already developing in several countries around the world. At the moment, we are considering several more applications for joining our organization. So you already have an international organization, world organization. Can you already hold world championships? We have already held our first World Cup. Now let's move on. I want to say that our techniques and methods are already using the special forces of some countries of the world in their training. It pleases us. Yes, I see that your students are working with weapons. What you see is a system for training children, youths and civilians. For the special forces of the army and the police. We have several other methods of training and improvement. This is all distributed at the 4th level of training. Our international instructors are also trained using such methods. I want to tell our viewers that you see not only aggression, but also excellent technical performance. You also see excellent physical fitness, excellent coordination and plasticity of movements. And despite the fact that here we see the implementation of aggressive techniques, but at the same time, it is an expression of the philosophy of strong and smart people. Now we are already seeing one of the countries, and what will happen in the project that we have conceived. Will we show martial arts in as many countries as possible? Yes, in the project, which we came up with, we will show the maximum number of martial arts that exist on different continents. For example, we will show Japanese styles of martial arts, but only in the authentic performance of Japanese masters. Korean martial arts in our projects will be demonstrated only by Korean masters. We will show very interesting styles of North American Indians. Of great interest for their authenticity are styles of martial arts from Africa, or, for example, Israel. A country that is in a constant struggle, in permanent hostilities, and in which 4 or 5 very interesting types of national martial arts were born, such as Lothar, Krav Maga, Kapap and others. And this exercise with a Kalashnikov assault rifle is performed by Grandmaster Vera Morozova, owner of the 9th Dan. I was in your halls. I saw hundreds of young men and children in him. So there is interest in martial arts and, in particular, in Agni Kempo. Yes, with enthusiasm, we try to reach as many children and young people as possible in order to tear them off the street. But we and the leaders of other Ukrainian federations felt that today the mentality of the Ukrainian has already changed. Living conditions dictate their own. Many went into serious business. Others went to university, as they make plans for the future, to become the most famous and richest and happiest. Therefore, the attitude towards martial arts has changed. This is not what it was in the 70s or 80s. Previously, martial arts were a mystery. It was closed and even forbidden. We saw how the masters act. In general, for how fast can I become a master? because now in Ukraine there are a lot of masters with third or fourth dan, and when asked how long he worked, we get the answer 3 years. Is it possible? No, this is not possible for many reasons. Firstly, there is the international practice of assigning dans, which has existed for more than 100 years. It started from the moment when Jiu-Jitsu first appeared in Europe. He was followed by karate, judo, etc. For example, many creators of their own styles and martial arts federations have appeared with very exotic names and which no one has ever heard of. But the head of this style already has 8th, 9th or even 10th dan. The names of these creators are also unknown among martial arts. However, within the family of real martial arts, in most countries of the world, there is such a requirement. Before a master is given permission to register his own style and himself as the creator of this style, he must document the 20-year experience of martial arts and his own ranks and belts. In addition, regarding the appropriation of dan, if any martial artist is not 35 years old, although his experience in martial arts is 20 years or more, nobody will be awarded the 5th dan. If someone claims to be the Grandmaster and receive the 7th dan and above, then he must be at least 50 years old. This is because it is directly related to the philosophy of martial arts, which says that a true master should not only be able to perfectly master his body and style technique, but he should also have great life experience. You can't even compare the experience of a young man who is 30 years old and a man of 50 years old. This is not comparable, dear viewers. Now I hope you understand who you can do martial arts with and who you need to distance yourself from. If the trainer does not have enough experience, then in training everything can happen to students. In our programs, we will talk a lot about this and how things are with other countries. You already have a large archive of your own, since you have visited many countries and even Agni Kempo have shown in South Korea. Advise where to start. What is closest to us? You know that now a wave of terrorism has swept the whole world. Therefore, it is necessary to start not with capoeira, but with real combat training, which the special security forces are already engaged in, but also for the civilian population. In many countries this is already there. This is not a sport, but really methods of real survival and self-defense in any situation. This is a kind of survival school. If in sports you fight one-on-one, then in a real situation you may need to stand against many opponents at the same time. If in sports you get medals and cups for victory, then in a real combat situation, the main reward is life. And for this we have its unique methods. These methods give faster results than sports, but they contain everything that is most necessary for survival in a real situation. I also know that in your future television program you made a very good idea about a story about the history of different countries through their martial arts. Yes, indeed. In the countries of Southeast Asia, all martial arts are closely related to the culture and history of these countries. And we will try to show all this well. It will be very interesting. But our viewer knows little about our martial arts styles. YURII Kempo is already well known. And for example, a combat hopak. It is believed that his technique is simply copied from martial arts. What do you think? You cannot say that. All kinds of crazy opinions go about my style too. For example, a large encyclopedia of martial arts was published, where the author described my style as a combination of Kyokushinkai karate, sambo and judo. That is, this author did not even think of contacting me and asking me, as the creator of Agni Kempo, a description of my style. This is a very superficial and dishonest approach to business. If it is so written about my style in this encyclopedia, then I no longer trust everything that is written in an encyclopedia. In general, everything is simple. If a certain amateur watches the competition and sees a punch, he will think that it is karate.
Or for example, an ignorant person who has heard something about Taekwondo sees a kick, then he will be convinced that he saw Taekwondo. So it is with throws. This is the lowest level of knowledge of martial arts. A higher level of knowledge when a person is already free to distinguish karate from sambo, wushu from judo, taekwondo from kung fu, etc. The next level is when a person, for example, begins to distinguish between karate styles. He knows that this is Kyokushinkai, and this is Shotokan, and this is Goju-ryu. And the very highest level is when the viewer can distinguish not only the directions and styles of martial arts, but can also give the name of the coach who trains this fighter. This is possible, since each student bears the imprint of his teacher. I see that your project is very serious, deep, and no one else has had one. Yes, we will try. There were no such programs in Ukraine yet. For example, in Russia there is a program, Fighter, which broadcasts 24 hours a day. It's fantastic. Where do they get the stuff? Tell me, is it possible to create a state program for the development of martial arts in Ukraine? This is only possible if the tax laws change. I can give an example. In the center of Cologne there is a huge center of Aikido. I talked to its owner. He was built by a sponsor. The second sponsor has equipped everything inside. The third pays for all the events of his organization within Germany. Fourth sponsor maintains a team of his clubs at performances outside of Germany. They have very good legislation. Of a 100% tax to the state, an entrepreneur can give 90% to the development of culture, theaters, cinema, sports, etc. Such a sponsor, Armacinus, in return, has advertisements in these clubs or cultural institutions. His company is advertised by them in the media and locally. As a result, it is beneficial to everyone. And the state, therefore, removes these items from its budget and can more rationally manage the money. And we have 70% of the total business in the shade. And by law, an entrepreneur can help someone in the amount of only 4%. Hence all our troubles with the development of culture and sports, including, we must have a good European tax law, and then we won't go everywhere and ask for help, as now. And we will have a queue of sponsors and benefactors. Can a project that you conceived help in something, for example, to guys from the village?
We plan that the training material that is present in our series will be able to help train a large number of children in different parts of Ukraine on their own. This is very good, because I know that you have already published several books, but this is not enough, and millions of viewers watch television. And if they call us to organize training somewhere in the village or in any city, what should we do? What can we advise boys and girls who want to study Agni Kempo, but who do not have the opportunity to come to you in Kiev? Of course, we will be happy to help such people with everything we can. Our instructors or I personally will go to them to conduct training seminars or master classes. We will invite them to participate in our organization's summer and winter schools and other educational events. I think that we can ask for help from those sponsors and philanthropists who are currently watching our television program, and to those who want to seriously engage in Agni Kempo, and provide the phone number of your training center. Thank you so much and goodbye.